He did a really good on Churchill.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great lunch. Hope we didn't have too many carbs so we can actually be lively this afternoon.
There you go. Yeah. In that Churchill.
I'd like to recognize Bob Wells to bring forward the credentials report. See delegate on con mic 2.
My name is Bob Wells. I'm a member of the Convention Credentials Committee. On behalf of the committee, I provide the following report. As of 1 p.m., there were 127 delegates in the convention hall and 73 online, for a total of 200. There were 4 official observers in the convention hall and 1 participating online, for a total of 5. The total number of registered honorary life members, solidarity members, and guests is 28. I move acceptance of this report of the Credentials Committee.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a seconder for the credentials report? Deb Jamerson. See Deb Jamerson. Can we bring the ballot up, please? Ballot to accept the credentials report. The ballot is now open. Hope you guys made time to go get your picture taken at the photo booth. It's only open till 4, so be good to get everybody's face in here. I'll make my way to yet, don't worry. $15 seconds remaining on the ballot. The ballot is now closed. And that's carried. Thank you, everyone. I'll turn the chair back to Chris now, and we'll continue on with the CR5. Yep.
Welcome back, delegates. For those needing a prompt, we're on page 43 of your delegate book. And I will ask the committee to read CR5.
CR5, the appointment of local president. The MGEU will grant a constitutional exemption to a local who is unable, after 3 meeting attempts, to have a local president appointed if quorum cannot be reached to complete elections by April 30th of the first year of term. The appointment will be made in consultation with the component executive table officers or the area council table officers if no component exists. The appointment would require ratification by the board of directors because many locals are non-existent due to not being able to reach quorum. This would allow for members to put their name forward to work with the staff rep and director to get quorum to fill remaining positions. This will result in a non-politicized, democratic way to ensure all locals can have member representation so their issues can be brought forward. This was submitted by local administration area 7, and the committee recommendation was to reject.
CR5 has been moved and seconded by the committee. This resolution needs 2/3 majority to pass. I call on the committee chair to speak to the committee's recommendation. I acknowledge that we have a delegate at mic 4. As soon as they're done their reading, I will come to you. Thank you.
Yeah, the committee's recommendation is one of rejection, and the reasons behind that are noted here as well. Membership should nominate and elect its local table officers. A membership drive or engagement activities can be utilized to increase member involvement. You'll see a theme in some of the resolutions. The committee as a whole are hesitant to make wholesale changes or changes to the Constitution to address individualistic or individual problems. That was kind of a theme we saw with some of these resolutions. So we understand and we accept the meaning behind them and the thought, but the Constitution is designed to be a durable, ongoing, overarching document, and that is why we recommend rejection.
Thank you, Scott. Recognizing delegate at Pro Mic 4.
Thank you. My name is Shelley Wiggins. I'm the actual Area 2 Director. Just had to make that clarification. And I am wanting to move an amendment to CR 5. The amendment would be under the MGEU will, in the first line, after the words "a local president," to add "from the local," and after the board of directors in the last line, add this statement: "The appointed local president will temporarily hold the position until their position as president is affirmed or defeated in an election of local president at the next local meeting that has quorum." And I've also provided this in writing already, and I have a seconder.
Acknowledging the seconder, Dave. Is the amendment up on the screen? Okay, so the amendment is just being typed in. So the amendment is now on screen for you to see exactly in writing. Delegate, if you wish to speak to your amendment.
Yes, thank you. Just with the addition in the amendment, I know there were some concerns expressed about person who was not from that local possibly being appointed because it was implied but not affirmed in the language, and also to make sure that the democratic process is still followed and it allows for that president to be affirmed or someone who can run against them at the next local meeting that has quorum. We do have a lot of locals in the area that I represent and in the rural areas across the province that really have difficulty getting together. It's difficult to have a virtual meeting because in some areas the internet service is non-existent and members have to go to other members' houses to actually access internet. And we also have vast areas where we have members of small locals who work in different communities that are several hours apart, and it's really difficult to get people together to actually have a local meeting. If you have an appointed president temporarily, it does allow that member then to start engaging with other members, and there is a point person for the component director to talk to and work with, that the area director can connect with and work with and try to get quorum, because that is ultimately what we want to have, is have an engaged local that has representation. And we've gone many years in some of these rural locals that have not had any representation, except if they have a connection with the component director or the area director. And we really need to get our grassroots members engaged and involved, and I believe that this is a way that we can look at amending our constitution to allow that, so that some of these positions can be filled and they can start working in their local to try and get those members engaged. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. We did have a virtual speaker. Could I just get clarity? Okay, so they'll return. Thank you. Any other speakers to the amendment? Seeing no con mics, we're going to go to Pro Mic 4.
Thank you. Dave Hill, Golico 61, Chief Steward and Golico Component Director. I support this amendment and the original resolution because it is an issue. It's not an isolated thing. It's been going on a long time. And these are closed, for us, we're a closed shop. So, I mean, and there's no membership drive we can do. They're members already. They're just not coming out. And if they don't like who we put in, they can come out and vote them out. It achieves getting them to the meeting. And to vote them out, they've got to put another president in. It reinvigorates these locals that we have nobody for. So it's important that we allow this to go through.
Thank you, Delegate. Seeing no further speakers, we will now proceed to the vote on the amendment. Please go to your device, refresh your screen for the current ballot. The amendment is a 50+1 vote. Ballot is now open. Please vote. Fifteen seconds. The vote is now closed. The amendment is carried. We will now vote on the amended resolution in its entirety. Prior to doing so, would there be any speakers? We have a pro mic virtual, Michelle Skabinski. Michelle, can you hear us? You're free to speak, Michelle.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Skabinski. I am from Local 33 Administration Area 7, and I'm the Component Director for Administration. It was our group that put in the original resolution. I just wanted to speak to the actual resolution and now the amended resolution. I'm in full support of this. I wanted to give all delegates a brief background of what's been going on. The last few years, we as a union have been faced with many challenges trying to get quorums. I mean, there was even other resolutions that were put off, like CR1 speaking to changing quorum and obviously this is an issue that's affecting many locals, many components throughout the province. A lot of forethought went into how we can remedy this situation. We've had countless meetings. We've brought this up at the board. We've brought this up amongst ourselves at the components level and at the local level. We are not trying to undermine nominating and electing local table officers. That's not the case. My predecessor speakers, Shelley and Dave, spoke very well and articulated the situation. Is that we're really struggling in getting membership to get out and get quorum. And we realize that, this is a problem. We are the union. We as delegates and as members, if we can't get out to a meeting, there might be 2 people that can get out to a meeting and quorum is 3. And then what ends up happening is we just don't have a local. In my own component, and there's 8 areas within the province, but we have 7 because area 6 in Winnipeg doesn't have administration. I only have 3 actual areas that have a local. So that goes to show you how endemic this situation really is. And I'm not the only component that this is happening to, as well as other locals who don't even belong to components. So I really urge all delegates to please support this amended resolution. We really need to get our thoughts together and just try to make this work. And this is a democratic way to do it. It's a temporary assignment until we can get quorum. And we have tried membership drives. We have tried other things in the past. And like I say, we've really been brainstorming and trying to get as many people involved. So I thank you for your time, and I'll just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. With no speakers on con mic, virtual or in person, I will go to the next pro mic 1 delegate.
Hi, my name is Les Laskowski. I'm the Area 1 Director. I'm also the local president for Local 9, Area 1. I want to speak in favor of this motion as the area director for my area, because we have lots of small components and lots of small locals that could not meet quorum. And this is a fair and democratic way to be able to make this happen so that we can actually have somebody on an executive to represent those members. And there's a check and balance in place so that if the membership isn't happy with it, there is a way to overturn it. And the board also has representation there too. So please delegates, I hope that you will support this. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate. Seeing no further speakers, we will now proceed to the vote on the amended resolution. Please go to your device, refresh your screen for current ballot. Ballot is open. You may vote now. Reminder that this is a 2/3 majority to pass. Fifteen seconds. The resolution as amended has been carried. Constitution Committee, next resolution, please, CR6.
Yeah, CR6, develop a disability standing committee. The MGEU will develop a person who lives with a disability standing committee. Because many of the MGEU members have disabilities and we need to work together to ensure that we are advocating for change in the workplace. Because historically, people who live with a disability initiate a high number of complaints with the Manitoba Human Rights Commission. Because people who live with a disability represent one of the most marginalized and oppressed groups in Manitoba. And because not having a persons who live with a disability committee will further marginalize and oppress this group of people. Submitted by Area Council 7, and it's moved and seconded by committee, and the committee's recommendation is to reject.
CR6 has been moved and seconded by committee. This resolution needs 2/3 majority to pass. I call on the committee chair to speak to the committee's recommendation.
The notes are there, but I would like to note that the notes were created in consultation with both the Finance and the Equality and Human Rights Committee. As it states, in 2018, MGEU established an ad hoc committee on accessibility issues, which has been providing oversight of the union's work to comply with the Accessibility for Manitobans Act. In addition, this committee participated in consultations and developed a submission to the province on the implementation of the AMA standards and has been advising the union on accessibility issue in member workplaces. Given that the Standing Committee on Equality and Human Rights is already tasked with working and advocating on the full spectrum of human rights and equality issues, including disability rights, an ad hoc committee is more appropriate for the project's specific work than an additional new permanent standing committee, and each permanent standing committee adds $32,000 to $50,000 annually to the MGEU budget.
Thank you, Scott. Seeing no one on a pro mic to start, we'll move to the con mic, acknowledging con mic 2.
Yeah, hi, Stephanie Swain. I am with Local 178. As well, I sit on the Equality and Human Rights Committee. And I just wanted to, well, first I'm speaking against this resolution, but I wanted to give a little bit of information in some of the conversations we've had at the Equality and Human Rights Committee. First of all, as was said, the Equality and Human Rights Committee is already tasked with representing and dealing with issues to do with this group of people. One thing that we've talked about at committee is that with some of these resolutions coming forward, it's maybe clear that we're not doing as much as we should be doing. So that is something we've definitely talked about, is we need to look at more, are we making sure that we're actually representing all of those groups we're supposed to be? And I would like to encourage anyone, if you are one of the equity-seeking groups, if you feel like we are not doing our job, please come talk to us. I'm here, I sit as 4th VP of the MGEU, as well Michelle Skabinski is the chair of that committee, and we really would like to hear from you. Currently, we have an ad hoc committee for the disabilities, people with disabilities. If there's other groups, I know there's other resolutions coming up to create other committees as well. If some of those groups as well are feeling like they're not being supported, or there's a particular issue that needs to be dealt with, we can maybe talk about, like, would it make sense to put together an ad hoc committee to then work with us? But I think right now we have a committee that's already tasked with dealing with this, so rather than creating a whole bunch of new committees, let's maybe fix what we've got and make sure they're doing the job properly. And like I said, I sit on that committee and I'm committed to making sure that happens. So please seek me out and let's have those conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Acknowledging Delegate at Pro Mic 4. Please identify your name, local pronouns if you wish, and if you're a first-time speaker.
Wanda Johnson, Local 303. She, her, this is my first time speaking here. So if I stumble a lot, please excuse me. I've been in this field for supporting individuals with disabilities, mental and physical, for about 25 years. And they're really being given the short end of the stick. Anytime we ask for something or whatever, well, we don't have the money. That's our answer that we get. We don't have the money, we don't have the staff, we don't. But these people are really, they're people. They need to be treated like people. And there's the campaign, not just a job. And it isn't. It's not just a job. You get involved with these people. You get relationships with these people. And I've seen so many people fall through the cracks, and it's a really sad situation. Maybe we don't need a new committee. Maybe the committee that they've got already needs to be revamped. I don't know, but I am pro this.
Thank you, Delegate. We're going to con mic virtual, Michelle Skabinski.
Hello, everyone. It's Michelle Skabinski. I'm Component Director for Administration. I am also the chairperson of the Equity and Human Rights Committee. I also identify, I'm a person with a disability. And so I'm going to echo what Stephanie has mentioned. She is also a member of the Equity and Human Rights Committee. I should also note that the Ad Hoc Committee on Accessibility, I chair that. And I understand that there is a definite need for people that have a disability to be heard and to be seen and not be ignored. There was an interesting video that people from the Accessibility Ad Hoc Committee were able to view at one of our last meetings. And there was a Canadian disabilities lawyer named David Lepofsky. And he said this: people with disabilities are everybody's minority. You either have a disability or you get a disability. If you don't have one now, it's just a matter of time. And that really echoes what the need is for disabilities and people with disabilities to be heard. However, last convention in 2018, pardon me, this was echoed on the floor of convention, and the board heard what was being said, and that's why the Accessibility Ad Hoc Committee was developed. As well as we have to realize that the Equity and Human Rights Committee, one of the equity-seeking groups, are people with disabilities. So I really think that this committee already has a voice listening to people with disabilities. If we aren't getting the message across, or if there's something that needs to be done further, like Stephanie said, we are always there and looking to take any questions, concerns, and deal with that. But I don't think adding a whole new committee is actually going to be in the best interest of membership. Because even just to get people involved now, it's a challenge, because having a disability, sometimes people don't always want to
30 seconds.
openly say that they have a disability. And I really do hope that the Equity and Human Rights Committee and the Ad Hoc Committee are doing the job that needs to be done. And if not, we're here and we're ready to listen. So I actually think that I'm standing in terms of rejecting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. We will now move to a pro-virtual Manon Marchand, and then to your mic.
Oh, can you hear me?
Manon?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have been gone through the disabled process for a long, long time. And it is something that is separate from people who are not disabled. And what happens, I found, is that organizations, including the government and kind of the union too, don't like disabled people getting together and discussing the problems that they're having. I mean, I once discussed this with somebody in the Human Resources Department. They said, well, there's no point to it because everybody with disabilities is different. That's true, but we all have to go through the same paperwork. We all have to go through the same processes. And when disabled people get together, we actually come up with really good ideas that nobody wants to listen to. I don't know why that is. It's almost like they're afraid of us. And I think that what happens is that with the type of groups that you are putting us into and grouping us with, we get hidden. We don't actually have a single voice that we can rally behind. And I know there are a lot of disabled people who would get involved in a group like that because there is no place to hear us. There's no source for our voice. And yeah, anyway, so that's what I want to say. And I know it's $32,000 and I'm really sorry about that. But I really do think that if you have been disabled and you've gone through the process, you will understand why this is so important. Okay, that's it. I'm done.
Thank you, Delegate. We will now go to Delegate on Con Mic 2.
Hi, Donovan DeBatista, Area 7, Local 14 again. I just wanted to touch base on this as somebody who is considered disabled. I have a medical condition, so if you feel that your voices aren't being heard and you feel that the committee isn't listening to you, you have to advocate for yourself. I mean, take it further. Take it to your director. Take it to the board. I mean, I don't know what was heard at the committee level. I know I sat on the Equality and Human Rights Committee. I really didn't hear much for complaints other than what was in the resolutions from the past convention. And I mean, maybe a member of the committee could speak to that, but again, advocate for yourself. A whole new committee isn't really necessary when there's two that exist to hear your voice as a disabled person. I mean, you have to take some responsibility as well. It's not just on the committee to help you out, and if you feel that you're not being heard, take it further.
Thank you, Delegate. With no persons at pro mics, virtual or in person, we'll go to a Con Mic 2.
Hello, my name is Annette Liss. I am from Local 144 Senior River School Division Support, also Area 5 Chair. Some of you might be surprised to see me at the Con Mic this time because last time around I was very vocal in my wanting to have this committee. And I will say that I'm extremely happy that the MGEU did listen to our concerns and did have an ad hoc committee that was established. Listening to Stephanie and Michelle, I am going to take you at your word. I am going to refer people to the committee if they need to. I am going to tell my members that if they have any concerns, to make sure they bring them up to their local presidents, to us to bring forward, to help them and to advocate for them. I have been a special needs advocate for my entire life prior to MGEU, and I will continue to do so, but seeing what MGEU has done now to try to bring disabled issues forward, I will be voting for this. However, I will also be watching to make sure that we are going to be giving disabled people a voice and making sure that we are making sure that their voices are being heard. And if not, then we always have an opportunity to bring a resolution like this forward again in the future. So I would be encouraging everyone to vote for this, against this, and to just make sure that we are doing our jobs as advocates for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Recognizing a delegate at Pro Mic 4.
Hi, Diana Scholes, local president for 10 and component director for technical professional. I would like to call the question.
The question has been called. Do we have a seconder? Les is seconding. We will now test the floor. So the question has been called. That means I'm going to test the room by vote to see if we're hearing enough debate. If the majority votes yes, we will proceed to vote on the resolution. If the majority votes no, we will go back to the microphones to continue debate. Please vote now. The ballot is open. Oh, sorry, we have a point of information. Cheryl Mickey, what is the information you seek?
Thank you. Cheryl Mickey, delegate from Local 444. I would like to know, is there any requirement for the Equity and Human Rights Committee to actually have members on the committee who are representative of the equity seeking groups for which the committee does its work. So those being Aboriginal peoples, visible minorities, persons with disabilities, and persons from the LGBTQ Two-Spirit community.
Delegate, we will vote on the question and then we'll have someone answer your request for information. So delegates, please go to your devices and you are voting on whether we call the question. The ballot is open. 15 seconds. The ballot is now closed. The vote to call the question has been carried. We will now proceed to the motion on the resolution. Prior to proceeding to the vote, we will have the point of information answered. And Scott, will you please speak to that?
So on a constitutional level, there is no specific requirement in the Constitution to have individual members from the equity-seeking groups as part of the committee. I know as a former member of the committee, that is always sought out. We endeavor to fill those spots as best as we can. I'll invite, if she's online and available, maybe the chair of the committee might also want to say something, but I just wanted to say that constitutionally, no, there is no requirement specifically for members of the equity-seeking groups to be represented, and that might be a resolution for next convention.
We would invite Michelle Skabinski if she wishes to speak. While we're checking on Michelle's want to speak, we'll allow Scott to comment further.
It has been pointed out to me as well that if we do not have these representatives on there, the president may, on the recommendation of the chairperson, appoint additional people to the committee. So again, it's not 100% required, but there is a mechanism to attempt at the very least to fill those roles.
Thank you, Scott. Good. Michelle is coming on to speak.
Hi there. I went out into a breakout room in error there. Sorry, everyone. That's Michelle Skabinski, and I am the chairperson of the Equity and Human Rights Committee, as well as chairperson for the Ad Hoc Abilities Committee. So there, as Scott articulated quite well, that there is not a requirement But what we do at our committee, at the committee level, is certainly if people want to self-identify, that's that's within their rights to do so. And we do try to reach out to the various communities and touch base with that. In terms of the ad hoc accessibilities community, the members there were, it was through involvement with the president and area representatives to seek out people with accessibility issues and disabilities and that to be members of the ad hoc committee. So that should be noted in regards to that. And again, we always encourage membership and reaching out into the communities, whether it be, being a BIPOC member, being LGBTQ2 plus, or someone with disabilities, and so forth. We really try to get all the equity seeking groups involved and listen and get their input. So I hope that answers the questions. And like I said, Scott was able to articulate that quite well, but I just thought I would add my 2 cents in. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We will now move to the vote. CR6 requires a 2/3 majority to pass. Please go to your devices. The vote is open. Fifteen seconds. The voting is closed. The resolution is defeated. I will now turn the chair over to our president, Kyle Ross. Thank you, delegates.
Hello, everyone. We'll move on to CR7. I'll pass it over to the committee.
Constitutional Resolution 7, amend the Constitution 5.3. The MGEU will amend 5.3 to act as a nonpartisan, non-sectarian organization its own section, because having it in the same section as our non-discrimination is confusing. This is submitted by local Prairie Mountain Community Support, Area 3, and the committee's recommendation is to accept.
That has been moved and seconded by committee. Would you like to speak to it? Any debate on the resolution? Seeing no speakers, we'll bring up the vote. Is there speakers? The ballot is now open. $15 seconds remaining. We're getting faster at this. The ballot is now closed. And that has been carried. Committee, CR8.
CR8, amend Constitution Article 5.5. The MGU will amend the current Article 5.5 to read, encourage participation in approved local, provincial, and national labor organizations. Because being involved in local labor organizations like labor councils are important and in most cases are the most accessible way for a member to be involved in the labor movement beyond the union. Submitted by Local Prairie Mountain Community Support, Area 3, and the committee's recommendation is to accept.
That has been moved and seconded by committee. Are there any speakers to the motion? Seeing none, we'll open the ballot or stand up the ballot. The ballot is now open. Fifteen seconds remaining. The ballot is now closed. And that was carried. Committee, CR9.
Okay. Amend Constitution 8.1. The MGU will delete words every 2 years from Article 8.1 because convention is already set currently every 2 years, and if changed, this wording causes a contradiction, also makes this article more wordy than it needs to be. Submitted by Local Prairie Mountain Community Support, Area 3, and the the recommendation is to reject.
Committee Chair, would you like to speak to the rejection?
Yeah, we feel that the change is unnecessary and it doesn't provide any particular clarification, and we don't feel that there's a significant contradiction in the wording. So we don't think the change needs to be made.
Thank you, Chair. Seeing a pro speaker at mic 1.
Thank you. Kirk Carr, Stewart for Local 403. Or yes, Chief Stewart. This is just, the full thing reads, membership dues or special assessment are set every 2 years at convention or at special convention, for those who are wondering. And this is just more, I think, helps housekeeping. If we ever switch our convention to a 3-year or we go back to a 1-year convention for whatever reason, this just helps with housekeeping and gets rid of that 2-year part already. Conventions, we already set convention at a certain time, so that time limit is already within the word convention in how I read that article.
Thank you, Delegate. Yeah, we have a speaker at Pro Mic 4.
Shannon Reynolds, Local 43. I stand in support of this. It may seem like just a housekeeping, but there are times that we don't actually have a convention exactly every 2 years. Just saying.
Thank you. Seeing no more speakers and no one online, we'll bring up the ballot. The ballot is now open. Fifteen seconds remaining. The ballot is now closed. It has been defeated. Committee, CR10.
The MGU will create a Persons of Disabilities Committee, LGBTQ * Committee, Indigenous Member Committee, and a Visible Minority Committee. At Area Council meetings following Special Convention 2022, we will vote in members to join these committees. Furthermore, there will always be a review before a convention for the need for any additional equity-seeking committee. Because the union needs to be a representative of all members that make up the union, and by creating these committees, we are giving them a voice to be heard. Submitted by Local Prairie Mountain Community Support Area 3. Committee's recommendation is rejected. Motion's been moved and carried by committee.
Thank you. That's been moved by committee, moved and seconded by committee. Committee chair would like to speak to it.
Yeah, so the committee's recommendation was to reject this resolution. And I want to again note that the committee notes were created in consultation with both the Finance and the Equality and Human Rights Committee. So this resolution proposes that the MGU create 4 new permanent standing committees. As we stated before, each new permanent standing committee adds $32,000 to $50,000 to the annual budget, or for this resolution would have a price tag of somewhere in the vicinity of $128,000 to $200,000. Again, we state that the Equality and Human Rights Committee is already tasked with working with and advocating on the full spectrum of human rights and equality issues, including the 4 groups identified in this resolution. And it is recommended that the committee continue to develop inclusion strategies for each of these equity-seeking groups. I also just want to add that the last time the MGU voted to add a standing committee, there was an exhaustive process that involved board approval, writing of terms of reference. That committee worked for 2 years as an ad hoc committee, and none of that work has been done in this area. So the committee believes that if more work was necessary in these areas, that ad hoc committees or ad hoc working groups would be more appropriate.
Thank you, Scott. We'll start with Pro Mike 1.
Kirk Carr, Local 403, Chief Stewart. I just want to make an amendment just to take away the disability group in this article, just because we already had that debate.
Okay, do you have a seconder? I got one. James Alexander is seconding. So would someone please put it out on the screen, moving Person with Disability Committee? Now, a reminder, delegates, I know you're lined up to speak, but now you can speak to the amendment. I know you were lined up beforehand to speak to the motion, but now there's an amendment on the floor, so just to be aware. I know there's an online speaker. Have you confirmed that you want to speak to the amendment? To the main motion, okay.
Sorry, I didn't go down to mic. I just had a point of order. My understanding is that if an amendment changes the intent of the motion, we can't do it as an amendment. I would see that as changing the intent. The intent was to have these 4 groups specifically, and taking one of them out changes the intent. Sorry, I'm Stephanie, Local 178.
Give me a second, I'll consult. Okay, give me a second, I'll consult with the parliamentarian. Thank you for your point, Stephanie. The convention did just have a conversation on creating a standing committee for there, so I am going to rule this in order. Due to that, yeah, I don't believe it changes the intent. And what was the last thing? Yeah. And I think it's, I believe it's in order. Yeah. Thank you. And it doesn't, yeah, it's good. Sorry, guys. So, you guys are lined up to speak to the amendment? Okay, so seeing no speakers to the motion, to the amendment, can we put the amendment, can we create the ballot for the amendment, please? To remove persons of disability committee from the motion. It's on this, or it's on my screen. Kirk, is that what your amendment? Okay, thank you. The ballot is now open. So, 15 seconds remaining. Okay, the voting is now closed. Okay. The amendment has carried. In favor, 105, opposed, 65. Now we'll get back to debating the main motion, the amended main motion. And I'll go to Con Mic 2 because I started on Pro Mic 1.
Thank you. Kim Wallace, Local 135, Brandon University. I had told myself I wasn't going to speak at convention, but those that know me know that that's an impossibility. I rise to speak against this motion, and it's not that I have any concerns with our equity-seeking groups. I have a son and a nephew that are part of the LGBTQ community, and I fully support any support that we can give them. Earlier, we talked about motions of not having enough quorum for presidents and how that's an issue within the MGU. And I know it, when we go to area council to fill these committees, we draw from a larger pool of people. But we already have a lot of standing committees that we are trying to get individuals to stand for and join. And in some cases, we end up with the same individual having to take on 2 or 3 roles. So if we add these new committees, I really believe that our Equity and Human Rights Committee are doing a great job of including everybody and bringing forward their concerns. I really don't think that we need to form 4 more committees, and then next convention, we have 2 more committees that we can't fill. So I rise to reject this motion.
Thank you, Delegate. Now we'll go to Pro Mic 4.
Bonjour, Ani. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Gidiga Geze Megazin Zakian Inanu Nandishnikas. My colonial name, settler name, is Thomas Baudry. I'm with Area 7, Local 047. I stand before you saying that we do need some type of committees for Indigenous people. You cannot speak on my behalf as a non-Indigenous person and understand that we are not represented within government. A lot of my friends, a lot of colleagues who are Indigenous work for the government 4, 5 years, 10 years. They quit because there's no voice for them. I've been going through a lot within the 20 years I've been within government, and I call it systemic racism, which they do not know how to address from an Indigenous perspective. So we do need committees with people who are representative of their culture, LGBT, disabilities, but I know that we've already voted on that. And I forget the 4th one, because you cannot speak on behalf of somebody if you are not them. So that's the way I would look at this, is why we need it. And if it comes down to money, why is it a money issue? Because we are paying our dues to have a voice also heard in there. So it's also our money, not just everybody's money, but all of our money. So that's why I would support the extra committees. I've never been approached in government, either from the union or from my workplace, to sit on a committee as an Aboriginal person. So if it's been out there, I haven't heard it. So how do we address that? When we talk about reconciliation, reconciliation starts with all of us first. And in the union, how do we reconcile with ourselves if we don't have that voice to speak for those people? Miigwech.
Next, we'll go to an online speaker, to a call-in online speaker. Michelle Skibinski.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Skibinski. I'm chairperson of Equity and Human Rights Committee. I'm also component director for administration. I hear what all our speakers have been saying, both pro and con. I am in full support of all the 4 equity-seeking groups that the current Equity and Human Rights Committee represents. I know this resolution does not speak to the disabilities component of it, so just make that very clear. I don't think this is a monetary issue that would be prohibitive in going forward, more that it would be a duplication in what we have. Now, I understand that, with reconciliation, that there is a need to reach out into the Indigenous communities and to reach out to our Indigenous members and whatnot. If we are not doing our job now with the Equity and Human Rights Committee, I would really ask that those that feel that there is something lacking contact the committee. I can be contacted through the resource center, through your local presidents, through your area directors and whatnot. But the committee is now, I really don't think we should create more committees. I think we should fix what we have. Not that I fully support constructive criticism. And if we are lacking somewhere, we need to know. And again, just filling these committees can be a challenge. And as much like Sister Kim Fallis had said too, is getting people involved. It's sometimes a challenge to get these committees seats filled. So there's a lot at play here. It's not just a monetary issue. The rationale would be that we need to fix what if it's broken. First of all, we need to identify that it's not working, and I would really ask that all members, if they feel strongly and have some input, to reach out to the committee, and we would welcome that to hear. But I think creating new committees isn't the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Next, we have Pro Mic 1.
Hello again, Kirk Carr, Chief Stewart, Local 403, still President of the Brandon District Labour Council. The creation of equity-seeking groups should have happened a long time ago. Other unions do have these groups. Across our union, locals are not meeting quorum. Members are disengaged with what their union is doing because their union does not reflect who or what they are. We are struggling to get activists and stewards and people involved. We say it's because they just don't care. The fact of the matter is our union needs to better reflect who and what our membership is. We are fighting and supporting Truth and Reconciliation with an Indigenous committee. We can make sure the MGEU is reflecting this in its operations and are more welcoming to our Indigenous members. And as a union, we can learn how to better represent those members. The fact that in 2022, we are lacking gender-neutral language still in our contracts. This is the first convention when we have been asked to give our pronouns at the mic, in which I did fail to do, so my pronouns are he and him, so I'm still learning myself. Our name tags don't reflect our pronouns. This month is Pride Month. We have our rainbow up on our logos on social media. We need to do more to be called an ally, and as an organization, both to our members and to our communities. When I go into a room and I look around, I see people who look like me, and we have a shared history and general culture. I can easily relate to those older and younger. Our members who are BIPOC do not get this opportunity in our spaces. Our union does not represent those members and who they are. We only offer our contracts generally in one single language, even though we have locals whose memberships make up a mostly entirety of people where English is a second language. Having a visible minority group, I'm going to change that because we do. Oh no, sorry. Having a visible minority group would allow the MGEU to change its culture and hopefully show the benefits of being an activist and even the benefits of the MGEU as a union to our BIPOC members. By having only a single committee of 8 members, who though are amazing and are absolutely amazing and have done great work, we are truly sucking in representing our members. We need to make sure every voice is heard at the table, regardless of the price. We are not a poor union. And to see the dollar amount as the reason not to give these member voices is a little insulting, especially as a progressive labor organization. So I'm asking the floor and those at home to please let this moment be when, as a membership, we said everyone is welcome and accepted within the MGEU, and vote to accept this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. We'll go to Con Mic 2.
Kimberly Lynn, Local 71 President and newly second VP. I stand up against this resolution, and I don't want this to come off wrong, and I know that sometimes I choose the wrong phrases, but I'm trying to be very careful here. I appreciate what my brother at the Pro Mic number 4 had said earlier on the Indigenous side of things, and I'm very interested in that. But that's not the only thing that this resolution addresses. It's talking about adding 3 more committees that I don't think we really need. But the Equality and Human Rights Committee is a great committee, and possibly through this discussion today, I'm hearing maybe we need to look at having an ad hoc or a subcommittee for the Indigenous rights under Truth and Reconciliation. I think that's something we can do that's affordable, that's doable, and that doesn't change everything dramatically. I know it's not about money, but I'm a money person. Dear God, that's how I ended up what I'm doing, what I'm going to be doing for you guys. But the reality is nobody wants to pay more dues. People are already complaining about the 1.25. And if you want to add 3 or 4 more committees, our dues are going up. And I want you to take a reality check on that, because our employers aren't paying us much more, so you're not going to be happy when we start asking for more. So I really think, though, a subcommittee or an ad hoc committee is something we haven't considered and might be worth considering for the Truth and Reconciliation side of things. I think that's a fabulous thing for us to look at.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate on Pro Mic 4.
Good afternoon. My name is Vince Teetart. He, him. I'm from Area 7 Social Sciences. I'll keep it quick. So I speak pro for this resolution. I think when we talk about money, we know the money's there. It's not about adding more money. It's about priorities, and our priority should be to all our members, including everybody in the equity groups. I'll leave it there. It's not about money. We have the money. It's just about priorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. We'll go to Con Mic 3, and thank you for being so patient.
Local Area 3, I'm Vice President, and I also sit on the Equality and Human Rights Committee. It's not a case of not having members. We do have members that do identify as Indigenous. We have members who identify in all of the equity-seeking groups, actually. If you feel that you're not being represented, then you need to be coming to your area council meetings, and when they ask if you want to populate those committees, you need to put your hand up. That is basically the only way that you can ensure that you will get yourself on those committees. We do currently have Indigenous members on our committee. I won't name them, but they know who they are, and they are very active in getting across the fact that we are trying to do truth and reconciliation, and that we need to do more, and they are very active in ensuring that we are teaching our members things like that as well. And also our staff rep, Corinne Tays, is amazing. So she also is Indigenous, and so she does a lot of teaching with our group, as well as taking us to activities and things where we may share that with our members, so that we are learning about the histories in Canada and how we have not done well. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't have equity seeking groups. We do have them, but if you're feeling that we are not doing our job, then, like I said, come to an area council meeting, put your hand up, say that you want to be part of that committee, come join us. That would be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Let's go to Con Mic 2.
Deb Jamerson, she, her. I wasn't going to speak to this resolution, but it's something dear and near to my heart. I have been an MGEU member for over 20 years. A woman, Black, and proud. I've never had a committee to be active. But what we do need is a committee that is an ad hoc committee that can be set up either through the Equality and Equal Rights Committee, which I'm a member of. We can do lots of things. Let's put the cart behind the horse. Let's do our homework. Let's get people engaged at the local level so they're coming out to area council. Because I know a lot of workers of color, a lot of Indigenous workers who are MGEU members that don't come to area council, that don't come to local meetings, because the one thing that we haven't done is engage people, engage our union membership. And that's why I stand here today opposed to the resolution, because we need to do our work first and get the advocacy up and running through the Equality and Human Rights Committee and put the groundwork into place, and then we can look at having committees.
Thank you, Delegate. We have a first-time speaker on Con 3, so we'll go to Con 3 first.
I'm from Area 7, Local 47. I just have a few questions for this committee. Just general questions. One, if there's no defined outcomes for these committees, then I'm not sure what the purpose is. It seems to me that I'm going to pay more money for no defined outcomes. Number two, will these committees, in terms of their purpose, are they going to hire more people that look like me, talk like me, eat my food? Are they going to protect more jobs and make it safer? But it seems like that's already covered by the union, since we're all equality, and those are basic things that cover all of us, no matter what we look like and where we come from. It seems like we already have a human rights committee that's going to cover all these. So as a person of color, I don't think we need to waste more money for committees that have no defined outcomes, that aren't going to give us the investment back. That's all.
Thank you, Delegate. We have Pro Mic 1 with that, and the second time speaker, so we'll close debate.
So, Kurt Carr, Local 403, Chief Stewart, and I actually want to do a referral to the board with the conversation that we had during the disability and also with currently here. I think it's better if we take this to the board for conversation and to come back, whether it was ad hoc committees or to come back with a committee at next convention.
So you want to refer?
I haven't spoken point of privilege.
I didn't see you, I'm honest, so.
I'm short, I'm sorry. I would just like to call the question. Dana Trope, Area 3, she, her.
Give you a sec. For me, not noticing data on Pro Mic 4, she should have spoke before, so the question has been called, but if the room would like this referred to the board, it can always be defeated, the question can be defeated, and then we can go back to the brother on Mic 1, and then we can refer this to the board, so we're in your hands. So the question has been called. We need a seconder for a question, yeah. Shelley Rougeau. The ballot is now open. These pillars are, yeah, they should have brought them forward. 15 seconds remaining on the ballot. The ballot is now closed. The question has been carried. The votes were 143 in favor of calling the question and 35 opposed. So now we'll have to stand up the ballot for the resolution on the floor. The ballot is now open. Right now. 15 seconds remaining. The ballot is now closed. The motion has been defeated. Or resolution, sorry. 28 accept and 147 for reject. But that doesn't stop this conversation, right? We've all heard these conversations in the room. Most of the board is here, almost all of us are here, so we know this is an important issue and we'll continue to work on this. So don't, just because it's defeated doesn't mean it's over. It doesn't mean there's no hope. We've heard you and we will be working towards this. And with that, I think it's time for a break. So why don't we come back at... Oh, there's a video will be playing during the break. If you care to watch it, we'll be back at 10:02. How's that sound?